Thank you viewers and welcome to our lesson of today. After discussing place value and total value, we want to move to squares and square roots of numbers. And the first thing we are going to tackle is squares. A square of a number is gotten when we take a digit and multiply it by itself, like when we have 2, then this 2 we multiply by another 2, which is itself, then we are going to get a number 4. Now this 4 becomes the square of 2 because we are multiplying 2 by itself to get a bigger number. That one now becomes the square. 2 times 2 can also be written as 2 raised to power 2. This one here shows square. It shows that we are squaring 2, and the result we get 4. This one now becomes the square number. Another example, we can have 3 times 3, also written as 3 squared, which equals to 9. Now 9 here becomes the square of 3. There are some numbers that when we look at them, they cannot form all numbers square. When we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, let me reach 9. We can see that from 1 to 9, there are numbers which are squares, and there are those which are not exactly squares. When we take 1 times 1, we are going to get 2. We are going to get 1, sorry. It is 1. 1 times 1 gives us 1. When we have 2 times 2, we are getting 4. When we have 3 times 3, we are getting 9. The next one will be 4 times 4, which is 16. In this order, we can clearly see that 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8 are not falling in this group. Now when we can square a number and find its value, we call them perfect square numbers. Numbers such as 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8 are not perfect square numbers. We can go ahead to list maybe other examples apart from 16 of square numbers. We will have 25. We'll have 36, that is 6 squared. We have 5 squared to give us 25. 6 squared to give us 36. We have 7 squared to give 49. 8 squared to give 64. Then 9 squared to give 81. And 10 squared to give 100. We can say that 100 is now the square of 10. When we square 10, we get 100. 100 is the square of 10. Up to that point, we are moving forward to check on now square roots. We have square root. A square root can only be gotten for perfect square numbers. That's when we can have a square root. Now, what is this square root? A square root is that number which is multiplied by itself to get a bigger number. When we have 100, we know that this 100 was gotten by multiplying 10 by 10. Or, we write it this way, 10 squared. Now, this 10 squared becomes what we call square root, because it is the number we are multiplying by itself to get 100. We have other examples. When you have a number like 144, we know that 144, we take 12 times 12. Now 12 becomes the square root of 144. This square root, there are many ways in which you can calculate square roots, but the two major ones are as below. Number one is finding square root by prime factorization. Then number two is long division. We will go through them and see when do we use prime factorization and when do we use long division, and how do we do it. Now we first take prime factorization and the things we should know about it. Prime factorization as a method of calculating square root. In prime factorization comes from the word prime numbers. So when we have a number within that prime that can divide another number, we call it a prime factor. Example of prime factors, we have 2, 3, we have 5, we have 7, and the list continues because these ones are prime numbers. So from that prime numbers, we are getting prime factors. Now this method of prime factors can be used to calculate the square root of a number. Let's take a number like 36. For example, we know that prime factorization can be done in two ways. There's that tree method. When we use it, we will have 2 by 18, then 2 by 9, then we will have 3 by 3 to give us that. So when you take these and multiply them, 2 times 2 times 3 times 3, the answer you are getting at the end is 36. Now these ones becomes the prime factors of 36. For us to find the square root of 36 using this prime factorization, we will take the factors 2 by 2 by 3 by 3 and pair. From these factors, we are going to pair those which are like. In pairing means we are grouping them into 2, 2, 2, 2, 2 for the factors. Like here, the first pair will be 2 times 2 because we are having 2 2's. Then the next pair will be 3 by 3. From each pair, you will see that 36 will be 2 squared by 3 squared. It means we can factorize the square out. 2 times 3 squared. That one gives us 36. But now the root of 36 equals to 2 times 3. We are finding square root on both sides. This symbol here removes the square up there so that whatever is left is 2 by 3, while this one is maintained. It has nothing to remove or something to remove it, so it is maintained. The square root of 36 is given by 2 times 3. Down here we will have root 36 to be equal to 2 times 3, which is 6. As I had listed in the other examples, we saw that 6 squared gives us 36. Now that is the first example under the method of prime factorization. We can try another one. We have 324. The root of 324. That is the second example. The root 324 in prime factors will be 2. Let me use tree method. 2, that one is 162. From there, the next prime factor that can divide that will be 3. We will have 3 times 27. Then we will have 3 times 9. Then 3 times 3. Now we know that factors of 324 will be 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. From there, we have 324 to be 2 squared times 3 squared times 3 squared. Why I'm writing this is because I'm pairing. So 2 times 2 is like 2 squared. 3 times 3 is another 3 squared. Then that one also brings 3 squared. We can say that 324 is given by this. Now the root of 324 will be equal to 2 times 3 times 3. You remember that when we find square roots, it is on both sides so that these ones are eliminated. That's why I'm here. Now, the root of 324 will be 2 times 3, which is 6. 6 times 3 gives us 18. The square root of 324 is giving us 18. Maybe the third and the last example. We are having let's take a perfect square like 196. First we express 196 as a product of its prime factors. We will have 2, that one is 9, 8, 2 again we will have 4, 9, then this one is 7 by 7. So we know that 196 is given by 2 times 2 times 7 times 7. When we pair, 196 will be equal to 2 squared by 7 squared. Root of 196 will be 2 times 7. The root I've said is removing the square. Now, the root of 196, when you multiply 2 by 7, you are getting 14. 196 will be 14. Thank you.